Jake Paul's dead. He's dead. He's not going to make it.
Mike Tyson and Joe Rogan decided to give Jake Paul a little pre-fight reality check. You see, Jake's been walking around like he owns the place. But there were a bunch of things he either didn't know or chose to ignore. Because, let's face it, when your ego's that big, who needs reality, right? But here come Tyson and Rogan, knocking some sense into him by exposing a few secrets about why Jake's been feeling so untouchable. And let me tell you, Jake's reaction was priceless. He's practically flipping out because now there's no turning back in that fight he's been hyping up. It just got a whole lot more interesting. Main part. You know, when you bring up combat sports, two names that immediately make everyone sit up and listen are Mike Tyson and Joe Rogan. These guys are like the godfathers of the ring and the mic, respectively. Iron Mike is basically the definition of a knockout artist. Imagine being on the receiving end of those punches. No thank you. He was the youngest man to snatch the heavyweight title and did it with a kind of fury that made even the toughest guys think twice before stepping into the ring with him. But Mike's not just a brawler. He's got this deep grasp of boxing that comes from years of throwing and dodging punches. Then you've got Joe Rogan, who's not just your average fight commentator. This guy's lived and breathed martial arts for so long, he can probably do commentary in his sleep. Rogan's got this razor-sharp way of breaking down fights that cuts through all the fluff, straight to the bone. His take on things isn't just smart, it's brutally honest, the kind that earns you a ton of respect whether you're a fighter or just a fan. Now, toss in Jake Paul. Honestly, his entry into boxing was more like crashing a party where he wasn't exactly invited. The guy's been knocking out other celebs and retired fighters, thinking it's all the prep he needs to face someone like Tyson. Cue the eye rolls, right? After decking Mike Perry, another former MMA guy, Jake's pretty much on cloud nine, convinced he's ready for Tyson.
The best boxer on the planet is?
Jake Paul.
Why?
He's doing it.
I mean, if Mike Tyson says, let's do this, are you down?
100%.
Well, it's Joe Rogan who recently caught a glimpse of Mike Tyson training, and he was completely blown away. We're talking about a Mike Tyson who, despite battling ulcers and the ticking clock, looked like he just stepped out of a time machine set to his glory days. Rogan couldn't believe his eyes. Watching Tyson move with that old-school ferocity, he was like, it was just a matter of Mike Tyson closing the distance. This Mike Tyson, as fast as he was, as hard as he hits, I maintain he's the greatest. Yeah, I mean the greatest heavyweight ever.
It was just a matter of Mike Tyson closing the distance. This Mike Tyson, as fast as he was, as hard as he hits, I maintain he's the greatest.
Yeah.
The greatest heavyweight ever.
So Rogan dives deep, breaking down Tyson's style. He's all about that legendary head movement, that bob and weave magic that made Tyson nearly untouchable. And his footwork? Man, it was like watching poetry in motion. Closing gaps so fast, throwing those bone-crushing uppercuts and hooks. Rogan's getting all technical, painting a picture of Tyson not just throwing punches, but launching tactical nukes. Then Rogan hits us with the real talk. If that Mike Tyson from Marvis Frazier fought Jake Paul's dead. He's dead. He's not gonna make it.
If that Mike Tyson from Marvis Frazier fought Jake Paul's dead. He's dead. He's not going to make it.
He's referring to that infamous 30-second wipeout session Tyson had with Marvis Frazier back in '86. And during the podcast, we also had Sebastian Maniscalco sharing insights, but when he joked about Tyson's age, like maybe he's past his prime. Rogan laid his thoughts straight saying, but he's still like a professional heavyweight boxer. He's still terrifying.
Professional heavyweight boxer. He's still terrifying.
Even at 54, Tyson's not someone you take lightly. Those training videos show a guy who might be older, but still has the chops that made him a legend. Rogan's not just fanboying over Tyson's physical skills. He's all about that psychological warfare Tyson brings to the game. Opponents would lose before they even stepped in the ring, psyched out by Tyson's rep and those glares that could freeze hell over. Jake Paul, with his YouTube fame swagger, seems totally clueless about this mental game. Joe Rogan's take on this whole thing is a mix of dead serious analysis and just enough humor to keep you hooked. He's got this deep respect for Tyson's legacy, and you can tell he thinks Jake Paul is about to walk into a storm he's not ready for. Rogan's insight. It's not just a fight, It's like stepping into a legend, facing not just a man, but a myth, the epitome of boxing greatness. But do you also think Mike Tyson slowed down because he's hit the big 5'4"? Let me set you straight. Mike's training like he's gearing up for the apocalypse, man. If you're one of those folks hung up on his age, you clearly haven't seen him in action recently. Joe Rogan, that guy who tells it like it is, was just gushing about Tyson's latest training clips. He's looking at Tyson going full God of War mode and says, he's still got that in him, and I'm telling you, if you keep giving that guy hormones and you keep giving that guy supplements and he's constantly training,
He's still got that in him, and I'm telling you, if you keep giving that guy hormones and you keep giving that guy supplements and he's constantly training,
Tyson isn't just kicking it old school with his training. He's blending the wisdom of decades with the slickest modern science has to offer. We're talking high-intensity workouts that would make a lesser man crumble, advanced nutrition, and a little hormone therapy to keep the engine running smooth. This ain't the Tyson who just relied on brute strength back in the 80s. This is a refined, strategic Tyson who uses every tool available to keep at peak performance. As Rafael Cordero said,
Tory, if Vittori gets his hand raised, do you expect to be fighting for the title again?
Everything can happen. Everything depends on our next performance. We know the game. We know we have to put something like a wow to fight for the belt right after.
Now let's flip the script to Jake Paul. Post his knockout win over Mike Perry, Jake's been floating so high, he probably thinks he can walk on water. Seems like he believes knocking out any dude named Mike puts him on par with the greats. But here's a reality check. Tyson isn't Perry. And while Tyson's turning his body into a fortress, Jake? Oh, he's been living it up in Paris, hitting the party scene harder than he hits the gym. Oh, so you think Mike Tyson slowed down because he's hit the big 5'4"? Let me set you straight. Mike's training like he's gearing up for the apocalypse, man. If you're one of those folks hung up on his age, you clearly haven't seen him in action recently. Joe Rogan, that guy who tells it like it is, was just gushing about Tyson's latest training clips. Basically, Rogan's saying Tyson's not just hanging in there, he's crushing it. Tyson isn't just kicking it old school with his training, he's blending the wisdom of decades with the slickest modern science has to offer. We're talking high-intensity workouts that would make a lesser man crumble, advanced nutrition, and a little hormone therapy to keep the engine running smooth. This ain't the Tyson who just relied on brute strength back in the 80s. This is a refined, strategic Tyson who uses every tool available to keep at peak performance. Now let's flip the script to Jake Paul. Post his knockout win over Mike Perry, Jake's been floating so high, he probably thinks he can walk on water. Seems like he believes knocking out any dude named Mike puts him on par with the greats. But here's a reality check. Tyson isn't Perry. And while Tyson's turning his body into a fortress, Jake? Oh, he's been living it up in Paris, hitting the party scene harder than he hits the gym. Cut to May 18, 2023, Jake's so lit in Paris that he's barely walking straight. His bodyguards are practically carting him to his car.
Jake, how are you, Jake? Hey, my brother, be careful, my brother. Be careful!
This isn't just a one-time party spree, it's becoming his lifestyle. Meanwhile, Tyson's in the gym, sweating it out like a beast, merging old-school grit with cutting-edge tech. He's there grinding day in, day out, focusing on strength, speed, technique. Every punch and every step calculated and honed to perfection. Jake thinks his natural talent and a bit of youthful zest are all he needs. But here's Joe Rogan dropping some truth. Tyson's dedication to staying on top of his game, regardless of age, is a whole different league. Tyson's not just keeping fit, he's sculpting his legacy with every workout, showing that he's not just still in the fight, he's there to dominate. While Tyson is living and breathing the fight, Jake's off globetrotting, hitting every club and skipping the grind. And those images of Jake needing a lift to his ride? They scream that he's not just unprepared for Tyson, he's practically setting himself up for a disaster. Joe Rogan's take is spot on as always. Tyson's age? Please, it's just a number. It's his iron will and relentless training that define him. He's in God of War mode, ready to steamroll over anything in his path. Meanwhile, Jake's escapades are just highlighting his lack of focus and seriousness, a fatal flaw when you're up against a titan like Tyson.
Christ. He's in this fucking mode. He's in that God of War.
Rogan's not just making casual comments, he's laying down the hardcore facts. Tyson's mixing the best of the old ways with the badassery of new tech. His rigorous regimen is not about just fighting, it's about conquering. As for Jake, well, his Paris shenanigans are proof that he's treating his boxing career more like a reality show than the brutal sport it is. If he doesn't snap out of it soon, he's in for more than just a rude awakening. He's heading for a knockout he'll never see coming. Jake thinks his natural talent and a bit of youthful zest are all he needs, but here's Joe Rogan dropping some truth. Tyson's dedication to staying on top of his game, regardless of age, is a whole different league. Tyson's not just keeping fit, he's sculpting his legacy with every workout, showing that he's not just still in the fight, he's there to dominate. And in one of Joe Rogan's latest podcasts, he's chilling with none other than Mike Tyson, and Joe throws out this zinger about Jake Paul getting all up in Tyson's grill, mocking his family, his past, the whole 9 yards. Now, any average Joe might have flipped a table or two, but Tyson? His chill level is off the charts. Rogan's like, when you get challenged by someone who's a guy like Jake Paul, does that piss you off? Is part of it just like...
You get challenged by someone who's a guy like a Jake Paul. Does that piss you off? Is it part of it that...
And Tyson, cool as a cucumber, cuts him off with a smile. No, it doesn't. I don't know. I think it's awesome. It is awesome.
No, it doesn't. I think it's awesome.
You think it's awesome?
Yeah, I think it'll piss me off. I think it's cool.
You think it's cool? That's awesome.
Tyson's reaction was not ruffled. He's practically enlightened. While Rogan's scratching his head, going, because, like, in a way, I mean, it's kind of insulting. It's brave, it's bold of him, but it's also like, Jesus Christ, there are levels to this world.
In a way, I mean, it's kind of insulting. It's brave, it's bold of him, but it's like, Jesus Christ, there's levels to...
Tyson's Zen vibe is throwing Rogan for a loop. Boxing's old guard would have you believe that you climb the ranks by duking it out with the best of your era, not calling out the legends who've already hung up their gloves. Jake Paul, though, he's playing by his own playbook, challenging legends like it's all in a day's work, thinking it's all fun and games. Rogan's pointing out the elephant in the room, that this kind of stunt is half guts, half insanity. But here's Tyson, unfazed. He gets it, the hustle, the game. He's not about to get bent out of shape because Jake Paul wants to stir the pot. If anything, Tyson's ready to show him how deep the water is before you start making waves. It's not about disrespect, it's about the spectacle, the show. Tyson's in it to give the people what they want, even if it means schooling an overeager YouTube star. Rogan's right. There are levels to this. But Tyson's playing 4D chess. For him, Jake's challenge isn't a disrespect. It's a chance to prove that true legends never fade. They just adapt and keep on fighting. Jake's method might be new school, fueled by likes and follows, but Tyson's response is pure old school. Bring it on, let's dance. This clash of eras, it's not just about punches and knockouts. It's about what it means to be a fighter in a world where hashtags can get you a headline fight. Rogan sees it, Tyson lives it, and Jake? He's about to learn it, the hard way. So, what do you think? Did Jake have this coming? I mean, the guy was strolling around like he owned the place, barely sweating his upcoming match. Now, after getting a taste of what's waiting for him, maybe he's starting to get the picture. Drop a comment below, let me know if you think Jake's finally met his match or if he's just warming up. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more ringside action and knockout discussions.